So, first of all, let's have Daniele introduce himself. For those who know him, for those who don't know him, well, it's always a live introduction. So many of you might already know him, you might have heard of him, but I'll let him speak to introduce himself, and then we'll understand a bit about his story.
Hello everyone, I'm Daniele, and I'm quite often present at the Monday evening live sessions. I have been doing publishing since July 2019, so for 3.5 years, unfortunately, I did not achieve the results I hoped to achieve in a shorter time. However, now with the help of Richard and Joseph, the situation has completely turned around. I had a hunch that it was a move I needed to make, because if I hadn't been able to take off in all these years, there was evidently something I wasn't doing right, or techniques I didn't know to use during the launch phase, like understanding when to increase reviews, a series of things that we often hear in live sessions that we've been listening to for years, but then in practice, you might not be able to implement them because you think you shouldn't do it that way. Instead, having the guidance of those who have already achieved results for themselves and for others, who have managed to help other people reach their goals after years of not being able to do so on their own, I realized it was time to take this step. And indeed, I was right. Because then with Richard, we looked at the books I already had. We haven't launched anything new yet, but just with the books I already had, he practically turned things around. And you weren't getting the results you hoped for. Right. Let's say that in November, I had already achieved a decent result, but we had also started having the first calls. Overall, it was a period of growth because the hot month of December was approaching. I had made about $3,700 in royalties in November. The books seemed to be doing a bit better. And then in December, there was an exponential growth, as is the case for everyone who knows how to navigate publishing. In December, you usually reach numbers that you don't typically see during other months.
January,
then, growing further, I set up the dashboard, 13.3, 13.5, something like that.
So we started from a month before we began working together the previous years.
But look, in the last few months, I was around 1,700, 1,900, these kinds of results. Well, I have 1,700, 1,900, 2,100, like that.
Up 2 to 13 in a couple months working together.
Practically, yes.
To specify with the books you already had at home, exactly. This is something I emphasize a lot, especially for the newcomers, of which there are a few tonight, to go and optimize the work you have done previously. We have repeated it ad nauseum to those who always present the live sessions. Do not start new projects, but rather optimize what you already have. As you have seen, Daniele had material at home that could allow him to make 13K, or even more, actually, but he was only making 2, so some pieces were missing. So Daniele, I would like to ask you, since you had previous training, you told me you hadn't achieved your goals. What were the technical aspects? We can speak a bit more directly here since we are within the group. So the technical differences that helped you, and then let's say the approach. Why did you actually make this click? Did something change? Surely having the support, but how do you talk about it?
Yes. Let's say that I understood many other things that perhaps I didn't have quite clear before. So now I have more awareness, even perhaps during the launch phase, on how to launch new books, or rather, how to relaunch books that, as in my case, I already had that were live. Then the thing I liked from the moment I started watching your course is that you were very direct in saying things straightforwardly. And frankly, and I appreciated that a lot, because usually all that is done is to propose new services, very beautiful things, all decorated with ribbons. Yes, otherwise it might be fine. Maybe it could be fine for a bestseller where one starts. To spend a little more to make it look better in terms of formatting, that could also be fine, but only after there are many results. And then the very, very useful thing that you said and continue to say is that often books, like in the case of your book that you presented in the course, the one about crochet, with only $500 of expense, you made a fortune, practically 30,000 in revenue. Exceptional. That's how you make pizza, obviously.
The math itself changes in the moments when...
Of course, this way you reach ROI much sooner, because if it takes you $2,000 to make a top-notch book and then it doesn't take off, you're stuck with it. And you might never even recover the initial investment. So it will be difficult to then bring it up with other values, whereas in that way you start low, and then maybe later, if the book has its results and gives its satisfactions, you can then think about possibly embellishing it. Actually, I find myself much better directly with freelancers.
In my opinion, the quality might even be higher. And above all, the timing is much faster. So, freelancer. For life, optimize the budget, make a plan. No Daniele, because obviously it is an example of Daniele. When he joined, he obviously had a certain budget. So even there, we had to plan things like doing this first, publishing this book on this date, publishing that book later, and working on what we already have. So this is fundamental. You really need to have the numbers at hand, starting from the keyword. So analyze it well, starting from how much you will invest. Another important thing is how much you might spend on ads. For example, you have the lesson where we calculate 60% on earnings. So you could calculate 50% of that 60% for ad expenses and extend it over the exposure period. Let us know if what I said is clear to you, if you have heard this concept before or not. Then, Daniele, how did you find the ads side of things?
That's when Joseph also stepped in and helped us during the optimization phase. We used the COBA file with the new name. Previously, it was CPC calculator. Well, we optimized and I have more mastery now. Even Joseph confirmed it to me. In the interpretation of the data that we upload to the Excel file, because they need to be interpreted and read correctly. From reading them, actions to undertake can emerge. So before seeing the ads this way, before operating with this methodology, how did you feel about the ads?
Did you optimize them?
Yes, I was optimizing because I knew Joseph from his old story, let's say, when he used to do calls with Fastbook ads. And so we got to know each other because he helped me with a book, giving me some guidance on what to do and what not to do. So I was trying to optimize, but I had so many keywords in each campaign that it was a hair-pulling experience every time to do an optimization without going crazy. Instead, now we go straight with 10 keywords, 15 keywords at most. Just as Joseph explained, putting them in broad, exact, or phrase match depending on the type. Let's say short keyword phrases are picked up from all the various hypotheses that consumers type into the search bar. So it's fine because they get a lot of impressions.
Let's say it is very, very simplified, and then there is a real strategy behind it, because as long as we look at the ACOS, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. We know that well. So Good for the ad side. I would ask you about the cover side. Was it helpful? Did you find any additional insights? Is there something you noticed from your experiences? Do you want to share it with the guys live? Then afterwards, we will leave space for everyone to ask questions, of course. Now, Daniela and I will give a brief introduction, and then we will discuss everything.
Yes, the covers, well, apart from the fact that the course lessons are very clear. I mean, they really explain, well, the approach you need to take to try to make a cover that stands out to the potential buyer. So, in fact, now with these new books that we have to launch, we are applying what has already been explained in the various lessons. And so, yes, maybe before it is true what you say in the lessons, Richard, because in fact, maybe one asks the service from the agency at hand, more or less famous, and you get the cover. Maybe you wonder how they made it for you and better according to their reasons. And so they tend to almost stop you so that they can close the job and move on to the next one. Instead, with this approach, you keep asking for modifications until you reach what you believe can be the optimal result. Then maybe the market will say that it isn't, and so you continue to make small adjustments. But in the meantime, before publishing, one must at least be satisfied with the work done by the freelancer.
First of all, one must work with criteria, obviously. I want to emphasize the point, as always. Do not shirk responsibility, not because you don't want to, but yes, we see the freelancer. He's good. He's a graphic designer. Exactly. That's the problem. He's a graphic designer, not a publisher. He makes the cover. It might be beautiful, subjectively. But then, does this cover sell? No. So you must take full responsibility, guys, even if you make mistakes. Then what's the nice thing? That we can correct the mistakes. It's not that we are stuck here. We are doing something that if we make a mistake, we cannot go back. Very simple here. Then we will read the data. So here too, the discussion about the HASI. It's not just the optimization, but also all the reasoning it leads you to do about the entire business. That is, go and read the data, understand where the sales process stops, identify the problem, and then you can go and fix it until you find the solution.
Exactly. It's something you learn by doing, meaning as you become more familiar with the tools, you start to understand. Now, make this change. Maybe always make one at a time so you can understand the impact that change has had on sales and evaluate if there have been improvements or if the situation has even worsened. And so, if a no, not yes after all, if it's there.
If a book made by another publisher sells, there must be a reason. We need to try to understand exactly why that book sells, how we can do better, and put it into practice. Obviously, as mentioned in the discussion about changing one thing at a time, the variables are those obviously in line with the ads, where we look to see where our process stops. So impressions are good. Then CTR, which is how many people click based on how many people view our cover, is good. Then we look at orders compared to the number of clicks. This already helps us understand and identify where the problem with our book might be, and we can go and fix it. This is as far as we are concerned. Then the competitor sells more than us. Daniele is a professional at this because we had fun stealing bestseller badges from everyone, stealing top positions from everyone. So an analysis is done. Okay, this one sells more than us. Why? And actions are taken, as Daniele says, one at a time, because we can't just change covers and reviews. And then where was the problem? Was it the covers or was it the reviews? So let's do one thing at a time. Maybe we increase the reviews, right? Good, we've found the issue. It doesn't start, then the cover, or maybe the description, the bonus, the subtitle, and so on. But one thing at a time. So then you will surely go on to sell unless you compare yourself with publishing houses, which isn't even entirely true because There are many people who have outperformed publishing houses without any problems and with many reviews. But generally speaking, if we play on equal terms with a publisher, it is easier. Then, Daniele, I wanted to ask you about how important it was for you to have someone, let's say, both psychologically and technically, to accompany you on this journey and not leave you alone, let's say, until you reached your goal. So we don't just talk, I give you a few tips and that's it, but we work together.
So it's nice because in this way, you can grow and understand well what the problems are by following and having your help over a certain period of time until the goal is reached. You rightly know the book, you know what the student can understand and what actions might lead to achieving important results for a particular book. So definitely, compared to the simple calls that are out there, you do the call for an hour and that's it. This was a truly winning approach, so much so that they copied it and realized that it was indeed time to change. Because I mean, you give me the books, you give me the instructions, then I'm there alone in front of the PC again and I don't know where to start. I mean, I did the call, I have the call to review and it ended there.
I tell you, look, the fact that they copied it actually pleases me in the sense that, first of all, it means that we are working well. And secondly, I am very pleased because it has, let's say, somewhat changed the fate of the industry, right? Because many people, many of whom are in this group, arrived feeling burned out. So I spent X hours for X money. I spent a ton of money here. I spent a ton of money there. And then they left me like this. They told me, oh, yes, it's fine. And then it's all about passing the buck, right? So the Pareto principle, rather than this, rather than that. I am very pleased that they copied it because finally, let's say the pressure is on. The famous fire under the seat is felt not only by the students, but from now on also by the trainers. So this is something that makes me very happy because all the people who want to change their lives will be helped concretely. I hope so. Then there are also those who copy it and the interview hasn't been seen yet. Don't trust them, guys. Be careful who you trust. All right? But on a psychological level.
Yes, it is very important because you have to put into practice what you or Joseph say during the call. So then there's work to be done. You have to get your hands dirty. You have to do what you say to do to try to improve the book. And so it's like having homework to do in the time you can rightly dedicate to self-publishing. I can only dedicate time to it in the evening, just a few hours in the evening, and that's it. Or on the weekend. I definitely dedicate more time because I am freer. And so one finds themselves with the next glue appointment saying, by that date, I must manage to do certain activities because otherwise we can't move forward. This also encourages those who might procrastinate a bit, thinking, I have to do this. Yes, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. Instead, in this way, one is almost forced because the process must move forward. And if one doesn't do what they need to, the process stops with all your goodwill. However, if the publisher does not take action to do what they need to, obviously, the results cannot come. Because you give the instructions, I hadn't started doing what I needed to do. Someone else would have made the 13K instead of me, and I could not come to your house.
In fact, I absolutely believe that they should be truly convinced and genuinely, wholeheartedly willing to commit. Because there's work to be done, guys. Of course, it's nice to have deadlines. It's nice to know you're supported, but you have to put your hands on the keyboard. And this is what you do. I mean, procrastination is the worst. For me, it's really the worst because the results are there. I mean, now, if I make a point. It's not debatable in the sense that you've seen all the interviews, right? Guys, now you see that in every interview, it's very important for me to show the dashboard, to show ad spending, to show everything, to be transparent, right? So they are guys, for example, those from the interviews whom you met during the live sessions and have talked to. So there's no escaping it, right, Daniele? I mean, the goals are there and we give you all the tools. You see how much effort we put in, even for the guys who just have the course. We still provide all the update live sessions every Monday. You know, it's not like that elsewhere. Then you really need to push, put your hands on the keyboard. The results will come. It's just a matter of time. Daniele, I'll ask you the last question, and then we'll open it up to the students' questions. I wanted to ask you how important you found the whole discussion about work management, organizing all the files, accounting, how to organize reviews and ads, and Trello and Quest.
He definitely has it. No, it's really great because you need to track activities. So there are specific files that all the kids know because they are accessible to everyone. They are available, but the fact that someone uses them concretely is not a problem. He puts in writing what he is doing. For example, I also use the VUE management file a lot. For instance, when I assign a task, I note down when the free promo is. I record all the ratings data from the reviews before starting the free promo so that I can then monitor how many reviews I received, how many ratings I got. And in this way, I can understand the amount I need to pay. I keep up with him, meaning I follow him. Whereas before, well, I would do the free promo. Then whatever happens, happens. It was almost always a bit improvised. In this way, the work is done better and more efficiently because the tasks to be done are followed more closely. Even with Trello, one notes what needs to be done, then as they do it, they move it to a different category or to in progress, and they expect the freelancer on duty to do what they need to. Then recheck, approve, and when the operation is completed, move it and say, okay, it was done in February 2023, so that one is already done, and you move on to the next one. This way, everything is well organized. A piece of advice I give, especially to those like me who have little time to dedicate to publishing, is to focus on one book at a time. Start and finish one book at a time, because if you work on many books simultaneously and have little time to manage them, you end up not being able to do anything with any of those books. This is at least my personal experience. Now, for example, we have to launch new books, but we need to do all the briefs, which takes time. I have time, but it's very limited. So now I'm focusing on doing it this way. I take one, do all the necessary operations, launch it, and then move on to the next one. This way, at least. I can focus, concentrate my efforts solely on that book. Meanwhile, there are the usual activities to do. So you have to optimize the ads, study the data, analyze them, and so on. So it takes time. So it's better to do one good thing at a time, but do it properly, and then move on to the next. This is yes, yes, yes.
The Lancia, the 4 and 510, but you know, two have started. One of those two has started.
Piece of advice, that's how it goes. Yes, 2 left, 3 left, 1, those 2 were there. You can't understand those 2 made it and the others did. If instead you do it one at a time, you delve deeper into the analysis, try to understand what to modify, to improve. In that way you grow. As you start to understand more and more what the right moves are to make, then obviously the niches are different, so the strategy might change. But broadly speaking, the approach, at least for me, I found this type of approach. to work optimal.
Even what may seem the most trivial, such as the organization of ratings, for example. I don't know if Carlo is here tonight, but they said, if you're here, make a sign. He had this audio that was around 3 to 4K, something like that. So just by applying the optimization of the reviews, he managed to make 10 K7 last month. With this audio here, exceptional. So
sometimes a simple change, which is what happened to one of my best books, made it take off.
And now you're the bestseller, the undisputed #1, right?
Yes, undisputed, truly undisputed. The second one is quite far behind. It sells, but much less.
And when we started, I remember that book, which was maybe the fourth, but it was selling one or two copies a day.
Yes, more or less. Yes, let's say it was holding its own, selling a bit. Now it does 30, sometimes 40 a day. Of course, so we didn't change anything. Cover 0. I thought it was the cover, but I was wrong. One
variable at a time.
One variable at a time. Exactly.
So I would say, Daniele, you are always very transparent with us. So you show us the dashboard. January when we closed, you tell us the ad spend, and then we let the guys start with the questions.
So let's take last month.
Here, Giovanni is already writing the questions. Daniele, I don't have time to say, okay, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready. Here is January 2023. I had checked it a little while ago. It was more. Now it has decreased. It might be that you can make some small adjustments in the first days of the following month.
How did February start?
Now I select February. Yes, quite well. Like yesterday. T smiles. Yes, yesterday above $500.
Okay. Good. What's your personal record for how many you've done in a day?
Well, I achieved mine in January, the year, $630. The highest I think I made was around 630. Can you show us the October dashboard? If it's possible to see more or less? Yes. That's the month, let's say.
Where then after we started working on the 10th of November, I think, together. So October, let's see how Daniele was doing. There's Sam, who thinks the newspaper might have been lower because it was in compare books mode.
Okay, yes, almost 1,700 units.
I have seen them. This week in February, we have already done what you did in October in a month. More. Yes, I have already done 2 7s, so definitely more. Okay, fine. Then I'll take this down and we'll start with the questions from the guys. So, Vanya, do winning strategies include a personal brand funnel? Should you always grant exclusivity to Amazon, or is it better to expand distribution? So, go ahead, Daniele, you answer first, then I'll speak.
Well, no, I didn't do any of those things. No funnels. Absolutely not. Just very simple publishing activities within Amazon, nothing else.
Can you build a personal brand within Amazon, creating your pen name with recognizable covers? Definitely helps. Obviously, on related topics, that is, don't do one thing on, I don't know, cricket and another on ricchettare. Funnel, what do you mean? I mean, potentially a funnel is also what we have on Amazon. So, sponsored. They click on the book. The book is our sales page where they see a cover and see the description. The content is the sales page, and then they proceed to purchase. So this is already a funnel within Amazon. And as we said before with Daniele, you need to look at the data to see where it stops. So where does your funnel fail when your book doesn't sell? Not getting impressions. Okay, there's a solution. Getting impressions, but few clicks. There's another solution. Getting clicks, but not selling. There's something else to work on. All right, next question. From Joe. Great, Joe. He would like to know the niche. Well, Daniele has more books.
Yes, well, the niches are, for example, one is business investing, others are hobby and craft. Well, but these are niches that are known, they are there, they are visible, nothing hidden. Yes, absolutely, exactly.
So, Valentina asks, excuse me, Daniele, but what changed to make the book take off?
So basically, we simply increased the ratings, and this allowed us to, well, have more social proof. Potential buyers probably feel more confident purchasing a book that has more reviews.
I emphasize, guys, ratings never hurt. They are never enough. Don't hold back. Always give as many ratings as you can because they are really useful. All things being equal with the cover, the one with more ratings wins, in my experience, or the one with fewer ratings wins if they have an amazing cover. But at that point, if they had more ratings, they would be even more dominant. Okay, Sandro says that maybe you were in compare books mode, which is why you were thinking a bit lower. That could be. Yes, you're right. Those are effects. We don't have the facts anymore. Daniele, how much did you spend on Has out of those 13.5?
I'll tell you right away. Look, I have KDP SEMP open.
Thanks.
So 4,695.68. Therefore, a net of 8,640.40.
Andrea wants to know if you have published on Cookbook or elsewhere.
Yes, I have published on Cookbook, but it is a niche that has never given me satisfaction. I haven't succeeded there, so I should put more effort into it as well.
We're working on it, yes. Now we're about to enter the cookbook niche, right, Daniele? Yes. To grab a few beige bestsellers, like in the old days. Okay, so Vanya, manual list. So I strongly recommend one thing to you, Vanya. I understand all the things they say around in the manual list and this and that. Apart from the fact that they always offer you a course or a service. But the point is, if you're not already earning as much as you'd like with Amazon, right? And Amazon puts you in a position to make a lot of money. If you watch the interviews, all the guys who have achieved the goal work entirely and completely on Amazon. So there are people with 10 booths, 20 booths, 36 booths, 40 booths. They did not send a mailing list. So what I'm telling you is really focus on earning on Amazon and forget about everything else. Now, you know, what I recommend is to study my course thoroughly until you can't take it anymore and do that. That's all you need to earn. Then mailing lists, creating funnels. I don't see them as effective for simply selling a book. I mean, it can work if you create an ecosystem that the book is part of, but then you also go on to sell other things, like video courses, consultancy packages. You create another type of sport, right? So really focus on Amazon and forget about mailing lists and other things. Roberto asks how many books you have.
Well, I published quite a few books because I also did some low content. So my library is pretty full.
Effective and efficient.
The ones that sell for me are about 6, 7 that sell. And then there are some low content ones that do a little bit, except for one that, well, performs well. And then the others are nothing special, but they still contribute to growing the dashboard. So It's all gravy, obviously, but the bulk comes from.
The bulk always comes from full content. So for those of you who are just starting out, we've said it over and over again. You don't need many books. You really only need one or two right ones to make the numbers. So this is a question I like. Daniele, do you feel completely independent today?
No, not yet. I still need Richard for a little while.
You will have it. Don't worry. Of course, Daniele has achieved the goal, but we will continue to provide support via Telegram and have a few more calls until Daniele feels completely autonomous. Were your ratings initially below the average of your competitors or on par?
But I was slightly below before. Yes, I was a bit below. And then I adjusted a lot. The book took off already better, and then I went beyond.
Ask as much as you can, but now that you see 7,900 ratings, is it smart to start like this? For me, yes, it depends on how much you pay for them, maybe paying 0.70 and... But for me, yes, that's it. Then it depends in the sense that it always depends on how much budget you have, on which keyword you are targeting. If you are targeting a keyword where there is a publisher with only 100 poor reviews, you need much fewer, and then you can increase them later to manage your budget. If I find a keyword with great potential that convinces me, and I see a publisher alone selling at 3,000 DBSR with 150, 200 ratings, I go for it and get myself 800 ratings. Then the time it takes for the others to arrive is considerable. When they leave, I would really do as much as possible because the difference is right there. When you have so many, someone comes along with 100 reviews, 200 reviews, 300 reviews, where are they supposed to go? Or he does a cover of the moon and then he beats you, in my opinion, even with 500 fewer ratings, but they are important. Daniele, are there many categories for each book or the usual 2 or 3?
Every now and then, I have written to KDP to add more categories. But usually, yes, 5. And they seem relevant because based on what we've heard in the past about bans for categories, it's better to stay aligned. If the book takes off, it's better not to use all these strategies that might risk a ban for nothing, wasting months of work. It's a shame. Then you need to start over from the beginning. In fact, it's better to stay aligned. Actually, I haven't done it yet, but I intend to read all the KTP guidelines from A to Z because, in my opinion, that's something that should be very clear even before understanding what publishing is. Many times people do things without knowing if they are allowed or not. Instead, one should study the guidelines in addition to the course to always be compliant with the rules that need to be followed. Otherwise, you get banned because you might not realize you're doing something that's prohibited. Of course, if you publish to make money and use a keyword that's covered by copyright, well, you're aware of it and want to make money as long as it works for you. But then you get banned and it's over. They don't even pay you the royalties.
The problem is exactly that since you also go with the ADS, you do the Yarn 2000. I know the keyword. I have 3 books. I could make 100K in a month. Definitely in December, 3 books. But what's the point? To make 100K, you expose yourself when you reach 20, 30K, and you expose yourself for December, January, February. So you end up with 60, 90, assuming you have them. Even assuming you do, you only have $2,000, $3,000. Then you get banned because you get banned, but then you get blocked because it's something you can't do, making money with another brand that isn't yours. And you lose money. So really, don't mess around, work. because it's better to have a continuous business that pays every month, creating stability, rather than making a big splash for 1 or 2 months and then crying.
Next question. Did you also do self-help on Kindle Direct Publishing? If so, how did it go? No, it was one of the categories I had considered in the past, especially from an audio perspective when I first started. However, I then focused on other niches, also in audio, which in reality did not give me the expected results, as I had been told. Well, guys, self-help on Kindle Direct Publishing is not the best. Absolutely. There might be something, of course, but it's not the best.
Well, also, because with the mailing list, it really takes a long time to collect emails, and not all niches work. Apart from that, in fact, as always, I will never tire of repeating it. We are selling books on frivolous topics that are bought on impulse, and mainly to make a profit. As you know well, guys, it's not like we have this excellent writing or anything in these books. So, I mean, building something like that to sell these small books really makes little sense. I will really focus on doing things right on Kindle Direct Publishing, production costs.
Production costs. Well, these books, as I was saying, were books that I had, even this one that made all these numbers, made 7K last month, just this book. It was a book that I had written when we were still sourcing from overseas companies. So imagine those were the old days. Then I revised this book, had it proofread, and in the end, I didn't receive any negative reviews from that perspective. It was a book that I paid for with the prices back then. However, for the new projects, I will definitely follow to the letter what Richard and Joseph say in their course, which is to look for writers on Fiverr. This way, you might be able to optimize, and if I manage to get the book off to a good start, I will quickly reach ROI. In hobby and craft books, do you think step-by-step images are necessary, or have you used them for the instructions of the hobby featured in the book? So I have a book in the hobby and craft niche. Yes, there are instructions, there are photos of the projects, the realizations, but I don't find myself in this niche where photos of various steps are required to obtain a type of finished product. I haven't found myself having a book of this type.
The advice I can give you, I have a more profit-oriented approach, and they can be useful. But, in my opinion, without straying too far from the logic, meaning don't risk making the book too long or spending too much, at least in the initial phase, to add images. A negative review can still come anyway. The main focus, Andre, should be on the variables that influence the purchase rather than the images inside the book. Of course, we should still aim to create a good product. Okay, Valentina, thank you. Marco, I just want to congratulate you on your results, Daniele, especially for the courage and ambition you showed in not giving up and embarking on this journey. Well done. Marco has now absolutely nailed it. Now,
Then there's this ridiculous expense in Azo that we can't understand.
top player, indeed. So, Cinzia, what did you find most challenging in the process and how did you overcome it? That's a good question too. I like it.
So the difficulties along the way, well, not the keywords because I already had the books, having been doing this for 3.5 years, so I know a bit about keywords, let's say. The difficulty is that sometimes I couldn't get these books started. Maybe the cover was nice, but something was always missing, which is why after 3 years when they proposed this new service, I didn't get it at first. I procrastinated and missed the first edition, but then as soon as 2 spots opened up, I jumped on it, especially after seeing Marco's results, who was doing very little on Kindle Direct Publishing and then had exceptional results. I said, no, I have to try it, otherwise I'll give up everything. After 3.5 years without being able to achieve significant numbers while others evidently could, it was clearly my problem.
I have evenings to catch up on you. We're actually applying.
Yes. Maybe you know someone who can dedicate more time. I don't know what to think. Maybe they spend more hours on Kindle Direct Publishing on Amazon, observing competitors, analyzing and understanding rightly. Those who can dedicate more time can understand certain dynamics sooner. So, I turn to you, Danny, and take this opportunity to thank all the guys who joined in the first round, the first batch.
Danny, you have seen the interviews, right? But Marco, Domenico, in short, the veterans joined and trusted us without even an interview. Now, we can say that trust has been rewarded and everyone is very satisfied. But I wanted to thank them because if they hadn't trusted us, we probably would have struggled to show other people the potential. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much. So one good thing is to always ask for support. I do this, I save the chat or the email. Yes, I heard that you do it. And it's a great thing. It's absolutely true. So guys, this is important for everyone. As Sandro says, before doing anything, ask and save the emails. Try to be as precise as possible regarding content. So plagiarism. Check the images inside the book. The cover images. Register it. So you need to. Try to be really impeccable. I mean, guys, this is a business. It should be treated as such. If you go and open a restaurant, you will have regulations to follow, I don't know, the HCCP. That is, you can't just take everything, mix it all up, not label it, and put it out there without knowing where it comes from. Not the temperature. I mean, it's the same here. You have to follow. You have to work well. And obviously, if you work well, there won't be any issues, or if there are, they will be solvable. So, Claudia, have you had a price strike on any of your books? If so, did it happen automatically or with some launch strategy?
No, actually, on this one that made the most, I did not get the price strike. We launched it, but even though we gradually increased the price, Amazon didn't give it to me. So it started selling.
Already published? So we didn't use any unusual launch strategies. Hence, no strikes. But isn't there a risk of Bono getting a lot of ratings like the ones mentioned earlier? Sorry if I'm being repetitive. Banned for what? I mean, in my opinion, no, in the sense that whether you make 200 or 500, it doesn't make much difference because they connect them, not by the number, but by the accounts, okay? So they find anomalies through the accounts, and the accounts are always the same. So if there's a risk, you end up in the middle of it. Even if you get 100 ratings or from 100 to 300, 500, it doesn't make any difference to me. So you handle things, and if there are any developments, I'll let you know. But honestly, I don't think it will be a problem. I'm Christina. I don't know why my name isn't showing up, sorry. Christina Rossi. the true queen of Kindle Direct Publishing. So, Sandro, does the mailing list work if you do coloring books every time you launch one, or if you do a series of novels? But yes, exactly, Sandro. The point we were making was that if you create full content with quality books that still need to fit our type of business, it's difficult to build an exaggerated fan base. With coloring books that are empty and have no content, obviously, yes. Or novels, of course, but novels are not written the way a publisher's books are written. So, absolutely, yes. Then, regardless, it is something I suggest doing later. If you say, I am already doing well, I am already confident in Kindle Direct Publishing, I have already stabilized things, I want to test. Moreover, it can be done. Okay, Giovanni suggests to Christina how to make the name appear. So, Valentina, is it normal that I have a book in Italian with an average BSR around 4,000, 8,000, and it only sells 3 to 4 copies a day?
Yes, it probably makes 8,000, 4,000. Yes, it probably makes 3 copies, 4 copies.
Can you compare it to a BSR of 80,000, 90,000 in EUS, let's say? Can you keep this metric? Super satisfied with this course. Richard and Joseph are top notch. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Congratulations, Daniele. However, we don't see the name Facebook user, so please let us know. So, Danny, at what price levels are you positioned?
But this book that is selling, at first I was aligned with the competition. Then I saw that I could stand out. And now I am slightly above, a few dollars more. But I have stopped. I don't want to push it too far.
In the sense that he means in terms of pricing, how much do you sell the books for?
He means in terms of pricing, how much you sell the books for. It's a relative question. Well, it depends on the niche.
It depends on whether it is a bundle, a single book, and how much the competitors are pricing their books. Generally speaking, you should publish on keywords where you can make a certain type of calculation in terms of royalties, meaning how much you can earn. Now with this queen, oh, yes.
So it's Christina, it's you.
Come on, there are people who do half of what you do, a third of what you do, and they claim to be the queen, so we need to sort this out a bit. So I did it. Okay, I am Salvatore, Big Salvo. By the way, Salvo is also doing quite well. Okay, doubt cleared. Great job, Vale. So guys, any other questions? Come on, Danny and I are pumped tonight. Let's move on to some other questions. In fact, I've actually seen questions about ads. I really can't believe it. Because they constantly bombard Joseph with incredible ads. Also look, Marco says the next goal. I wrote it when I published the dashboard. I wrote it.
Otherwise, you all write to him and insult him.
I take aim. Well. Otherwise, guys, you write them all and insult him.
The goal is 20K coming soon. We'll see. Revenue, no. Net. I still haven't reached even 10K net yet. Otherwise, I would say my goal is to make 10K net. Since I'm at 8, which is achievable. However, I need to publish something else because otherwise I'm more or less at the same revenue as the previous month. So I need more books to try to grow the dashboard.
So 20K with a net of, let's keep what we have so far.
I would like to match Marco's net earnings, but I see it as difficult. I see it as very difficult.
Yes, about 30% often.
I think Marco is also giving refined sweetness to Joseph with these numbers. Great.
So, the cost per bid. This is a bit like the question of price. It depends on the book and the niche. For questions about ads, I am waiting for Joseph exactly. Go to him, because he has patience. So, a question about ads, the average cost of bids. Same thing. It depends on the book. Marco says you'll get there.
You might already get there, maybe. Let's give it a try.
If he says so. So you also publish on audio and got trapped by those damn DCX as well.
Look, I barely managed to get the famous codes, the ones that were paid only on two. Only on two I had done. I had started by focusing my efforts on ASICs. So I had made bundles of 20 hours, and you don't know how much money I didn't earn because of that change. Unfortunately, in the end, they didn't achieve the desired results. These audios are there, but I would say lesson learned. Right.
In the sense that, guys, obviously no one gives away money. So it's a business. And if something like this happens, it's clear that you can't base a business or investments on it, because then something like this happens. So it's better, as we were saying before, of course, if something like this comes up, to take advantage of it as much as possible, but also to try to work well and set things up properly.
Surely, because in that way, you know you can still achieve results regardless of the little gifts they were giving.
Then it shouldn't be promoted as a thing, meaning that if tomorrow an Amazon trick comes out, maybe it's better not to promote it, not to base businesses on it for people. How are you organizing yourself fiscally?
I have the LTD, but for quite some time, since the whole Essex issue came up, I immediately adapted not. I don't pay. We talked about it in some previous live sessions. I have the service for the LTDs from Charlie Creative, practically, from Charlie's agency. I use their service, and I don't pay VAT.
Question from Mirko. Alessandro was asking if LLTD yes, regarding the specific matter of basically ICX and Ingers have been a blessing for those who really wanted to succeed. What do you mean, Mark? So, one, completely, let's say, ICX, a bug of a platform that was exploited. Of course, there are those who have made a lot of money from it, and that's fine. It makes sense. But of course, there are also many people who unfortunately have not built a real business, have published without any criteria, have published garbage with the aim of getting money from the platform as a gift. And once the trick was over, the party was over. And many others, maybe like Dani, who arrive just when the codes are removed and end up stuck there with tens of thousands of euros invested and left hanging. Ingram Spark, on the other hand, was a very good thing. In my opinion, it was a very good thing because it was legitimate. Obviously, it was a legitimate business, meaning you published books that were purchased. As always, when you push things too far, don't manage them properly and don't work in a clean and ethical manner, the platforms will protect themselves, because it's not like the books just disappear into a void. There are buyers on the other side, right?
And so pulling the rope for the few who behave badly, in the end, everyone suffers. So yes, it's a shame. The account I had on Ingress Park was doing quite well. But in the end, even though I had published things, let's say, normally made books that I had on Kindle Direct Publishing, in the end, they cut down on everyone. When they come, they cut everyone, just like Amazon. I mean, if there are people who keep working poorly, sooner or later, as you can see, the net is tightening.
I mean, 2 years ago you could publish anything, but now they start asking about images, about the cover, about this, about that, because many people evidently did not integrate well. And so the platforms are protecting themselves. However, if everyone had used their heads, I know it's difficult because once people are surrounded by money, they stop thinking rationally. It would definitely have been a great business in Grand Spark if used with the correct strategies respecting the platform, without cutting 2,000 books, copying and pasting, or pulling 20 books out of one, even there. It is not something that should be promoted or taught, in my opinion, with certain methodologies. ACX is still a problem now. In fact, thanks to them, it's over for everyone. Yes, it's true, because even those who want to do a good job end up getting cut off. So, Filippo, congratulations, Daniele. I realize that my biggest difficulty is identifying the reason why one book sells less than others. I struggle to identify what the problems are. Could you give me some suggestions? How would you recommend I proceed? Good question.
So what I do is analyze the competitors who sell more than me. I start analyzing my document. They ban well, so as the guys explain in the course, I take the over and put them close together. I take an Excel file, a Word file, whatever you prefer, and put them there close together and start analyzing. Maybe, definitely, perhaps for elements that are recurring in the different covers of competitors that sell. I try to understand which colors are popular, which ones are repeated on various covers. I always start with the cover, the one that makes the click, that brings the customer to the product page, and therefore it is the first essential thing. Also, analyze the fonts used. In short, try to go into detail. Try to understand why maybe that particular cover is successful compared to another that might be similar, but then maybe the font is different, too simple, or has colors that do not exactly reflect what the target audience, the target customer, would like to see. Then after the cover, I move on to analyze the description. I take a look at what those who sell a lot are writing, which may be evidently, if they manage to convert well, it's because they write the right things that the potential reader is looking for at that moment. So basically, these are the things I look at, apart from the reviews, but there's little to analyze there in the sense that it's a number. So at a glance, I see it. The analysis should be done on the cover first, and then on the description and other components of the product page, editorial reviews if there are any, if they are in the US market, potentially more content if it's a type of book that might require them. So these are the things I look at, but I'm still a rookie. Let's see what Richard says. But Phil, in the meantime, I would suggest you...
Phil, in the meantime, I would suggest you take a good look at the ad data, right? Take a good look at the ad data, right? The way we have organized the COBA really lays out the whole process for you and can help you understand where the problem with your book is, right? Then there's the discussion we had earlier. So, does the book generate impressions? Yes. How is the CTR? Good. Okay. So we can already understand that we are moving beyond the first step, right? How is the conversion rate? Can we work on that? So, first of all, in my opinion, the ads already give you a very clear view of where the error might be. Then you tell me the data is good on the ads, very good, but the competitor sells more. Okay, how many reviews does he have? One more than you. Are we catching up to him or surpassing him? Do you have more reviews now? Are the ads in place? Are you going to fix Andrea at that point on the book page? Let's see him who sells more than you, what product page he has. So as Danny said, content description is more. And lastly to say, the cover, that is, the ads are in place. We have more reviews than him. The description is in place. The subtitle is in place. And we have editorial reviews. We have the content. So at that point, in my opinion, it's a matter of evaluating the cover. Then it also depends. He sells more than you, but in what terms does he sell more than you? Does he have a lower BSR or make more money? Because if you sell to me at a BSR of $10,000 for $30 and he sells at a BSR of $5,000 for $15, that's fine with us. In the end, money is the measure. So take this into consideration as well. In fact, the codes for radio and the mess with Ingram, Christina Lotesa, exactly, who was focused on the dirty work and disappeared. Those who really wanted to succeed moved forward. A great filtering, I would say. Yes, no, but I remember the times of Ingram. I mean, even my grandmother was making 10K a month. I mean, really, the first person you met on the street. If you weren't making 10K a month with Ingram or 20K, you were nobody. Of all these people who has remained, there are people who make zero on Kindle Direct Publishing, even now. So, thank goodness. General question. My team is managing to get written reviews in the US. Joseph said this in the last live session, and then he also told me yes, but it's been over 2 weeks waiting for a book, and they don't come through. So, UK, definitely. Yes, US. Honestly, I haven't had them done recently. I don't know. Let's see if anyone live has recently had subscribed reviews done in the US. Go ahead, guys, fire off the last questions. And then we'll leave Danny in peace tonight. Advice from both. I have a book in the German market, BSA 2500, without an author page, without literal reviews, nothing more. I am not the first but the third. I am almost afraid to add variations. I don't want it to get worse. But in my opinion, it is indeed really difficult for it to get worse. I would first tell you to do editorials and an author page and wait for the reviews, because if you get bad reviews, they could have a negative impact. But an author page definitely won't, and editorial reviews definitely won't. Then, if you have the third one, how many reviews do the others have? What do you think, Danny? In your experience, can these variables actually make things worse?
But eventually try to modify it always one at a time. See the impact it has as you introduce a variable. See if something improves or worsens. This way, you can try to improve the situation.
Exactly. As we said before, always one variable at a time. Insert, monitor the has with the COBA file, insert the author page, take a top number of days, even without optimizing, but just see how it is going. Then insert the editorial. Take another top number of days and see how it is going. And so on. Yes, US, only ratings. Okay, yes, I did them. There are about 10. Do you still have them? I have 1200, the second 800, the first 1600. Okay, then I would work on the variables we discussed, because if the second one has 400 ratings less than you and sells more, he is definitely doing something better. Do you have the reviews written by VAs or PSB or similar services? Personally, I stopped using VAs because PSB services remain there but are no longer used. I still use services for writing. What about you, Danny?
Yes, 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 me too. Yes, yes. Services are more reliable. Maybe those from the UAE will go away.
It's only been 10 days and they are holding up for now. It's fine. Keep us updated. No problem. Actually, let me know even if it says Facebook user. I don't know who you are. Let me know how it goes. Come on, guys. Last questions. Richard, I have a question for you. What do you think have been the most important habits you have cultivated that have led you to achieve the results you have today, whether in publishing or not? So, definitely the issue of procrastination. You need to get things done. When you set your mind to something, you have to do it, and without really making excuses, without dragging it out. So, consequently, how can you help yourself here? By eliminating distractions. Because it is obviously difficult to do many things, do them well, and do them on time. So, you need to eliminate distractions as much as possible, such as social media, going out, and other nonsense. And another thing is the obsession, in the sense that I have a strong fixation in everything I do to want to be better. Okay. So, how do you become better? I mean, potentially anyone can achieve those results, right? In my opinion, there isn't a person, obviously, except in cases of disability, but there isn't a person who can achieve higher results than you. The difference, as in publishing, I'm sure that if you really want it, you can become better than Marco, better than Christina, better than me at publishing. And obviously, the point is about obsession. That is, you have to put in, you have to be obsessed with this thing in anything you do. I think it could be the gym, it could be publishing, info business. In anything, you have to commit yourself and really do things. Let me give you an example. The info business would have been easier to launch with a classic model, not the approach of doing objective consultations. I assure you that I dedicate a lot of time to it, even on Sundays, Saturdays, many hours. I did this because I want to be the best at what I do. And to be better, I really need to deliver results to people. So I have to do it this way. So to summarize, eliminate procrastination by removing distractions, because the opposite of focus is distraction. Therefore, remove distractions. Try to be as focused as possible, and then truly obsess and challenge yourself to be better at what you do. But I repeat, that's how I see it in everything. I mean, tomorrow I start doing something new, and I get fixated on it. I read somewhere about Cristiano Ronaldo's speech where he is lost in a game of table football with friends. He ordered the foosball table at home, trained for X time until he went there and won. In my opinion, this is the right mentality. Okay, Alessandro tells us that the written US reviews lasted about 2 months. Hello, everyone. Once again, congratulations to Danny. Come on. Last question, guys.
Thank you.
Like Danny, they were good with the questions, they were lenient.
Yes, yes, yes.
I have to go now. Goodbye. Great Marcolino, a hug. I wrote to you on Telegram. Okay, I'll end the live now and reply to you. And congratulations again to Danny. Come on, guys.
Hi, Marco, thank you.
Last question. Then I'll go to check the lottery numbers before going to bed. Congratulations to Daniele.
Thanks to Claudia. I also say goodbye to you. Bye, Cree. Go on, guys. Last question. Is it there or not? Nothing, Danny. They were thorough then.
Congratulations, congratulations. Okay, well, I think we're done here. Danny, if you want to say something, otherwise, I really thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure. No problem at all. My compliments to you, thank you. Obviously, I gave you the tools, but you did the work, you put in the effort with great precision and dedication. So I truly congratulate you and thank you, first and foremost, for your time, for being here, and for being an inspiration to other young people on their journey.
Exactly. Which is what I hope for as well, because there is room for improvement.
Absolutely.
With your help, it can be done.
Great. Hello, everyone.
Good night, everyone. See you next time.